What are your favourite play memories from your childhood?
One of my favourite childhood memories when I was growing up was playing with all the kids in the street. We get our bikes out, we get the tricycles out, we get the go-karts out, and we'd have races around the street.
My favourite childhood play memory would be playing with Cindy's and the big doll's house that I had.
My favourite play memory from childhood is being on the beach with my nana, helping to make sandcastles, watching the Alaman boat go in and out, and spending the whole day there with a picnic.
The world has changed, but children's need for play hasn't. Out-of-school childcare clubs run before school, after school and during school holidays to give your children that compensatory play space where they can explore, improve social skills, confidence and happiness, play more, try new activities and develop new skills and friendships.
Play is important for children because it just helps on so many levels. They learn through their play, they can be creative, they can be themselves.
I think play is really important for children because it builds resilience, it helps them to negotiate risk, it helps them holistically develop.
Children have the freedom to do what they want to do.
I think inclusive childcare is really important because every child needs to have the opportunity to play.
Whether you're working from home, travelling to a workplace, or simply wanting your child to benefit from quality, fun play experiences with their peers, out-of-school childcare clubs can help. You probably already know someone who's relying on an out-of-school childcare club to work, train or for respite. Play workers and out-of-school childcare clubs support the wider economy, as well as nurturing a creative, resilient next generation with their own set of play memories.
We as a family use a childcare after-school club because I don't have any family or close friends nearby that can help out with childcare. Me and my husband both work full-time for the NHS, so having someone that you can depend on to pick up your child after school, knowing that they're in a safe and fun environment means a big difference to us as a family.
In the classroom, it's all structured learning, so it's nice to have the time to play with the friends that she's made in school.
So I did pick her up at kind of school time, but then she'd end up coming home with me and then I'm working from home, so she'd just be in the house watching TV. So she gets a lot more here.
Because my daughter's an only child and it's really important for me that she has a variety of children that she can play with of all different ages and all different backgrounds.
Out-of-school childcare clubs reflect the needs and diversity of their local communities. But to stay open, keep fees low and continue providing their much-needed services, they need to be used. You can find out about local out-of-school childcare clubs via Clwbiau Plant Cymru Kids Club's website, Dewis Cymru, or through Care Inspectorate Wales's website. Using a club that is registered with Care Inspectorate Wales means that staff will be qualified, DBS checked, and that the service will be meeting the national minimum standards. It also opens up financial assistance schemes where you're eligible.
What will your children's favourite play memories be?
Beth yw eich hoff atgofion chwarae o'ch plentyndod?
One of my favourite childhood memories when I was growing up was playing with all the kids in the street. We get our bikes out, we get the tricycles out, we get the go-karts out and we'd have races around the street.
My favourite childhood play memory would be playing with Cindy's and the big doll's house that I had.
My favourite play memory from childhood is being on the beach with my nana, helping to make sandcastles, watching the Alaman boat go in and out and spending the whole day there with a picnic.
Mae'r byd wedi newid, ond nid felly angen plant am chwarae. Mae clybiau gofal plant a llysgol yn rhedeg cyn oriau ysgol, wedi oriau ysgol ac yn ystod gwyliau'r ysgol i roi eich plant fan chwarae digolledo lle gallant chwilota, gwella sgiliau cymdeithasol, ennill hyder a hapusrwydd, chwarae mwy, rhoi cynnig ar weithgareddau newydd, datblygu sgiliau newydd a chyfeillgarwch a phobl newydd.
Play is important for children because it just helps on so many levels. They learn through their play, they can be creative, they can be themselves.
I think play is really important for children because it builds resilience, it helps them to negotiate risk, it helps them holistically develop.
Children have the freedom to do what they want to do.
I think inclusive childcare is really important because every child needs to have the opportunity to play.
P'na ydych yn gweithio o gartre yn teithio i weithle, neu ddim ond am eich plentyn fanteisio ar brofiadau chwarae hwyliog gyda'i cyfoedion, gall clybiau gofal plant a llysgol helpu. Mae'n debyg eich bod eisoes yn nabod rhywun sy'n dibynnu ar glwb gofal plant a llysgol i allu gweithio, hyfforddi neu am ofal seibiant. Mae gweithwyr chwarae a chlybiau gofal plant a llysgol yn cefnogi'r economi ehangach, yn ogystal â meithrin cenhedlaeth nesaf greadigol a gwydn, a'i set nhw eu hunain o atgofion chwarae.
We as a family use a childcare after school club because I don't have any family or close friends nearby that can help out with childcare. Me and my husband both work full-time for the NHS, so having someone that you can depend on to pick up your child after school, knowing that they're in a safe and fun environment means a big difference to us as a family.
In the classroom, it's all structured learning, so it's nice to have the time to play with the friends that she's made in school.
During lockdown, I did pick her up at kind of school time, but then she'd end up coming home with me, and then I'm working from home, so she'd just be in the house watching TV. So she gets a lot more here.
Because my daughter's an only child, and it's really important for me that she has a variety of children that she can play with of all different ages and all different backgrounds.
Mae clybiau gofal plant a llysgol yn adlewyrchu anghenion ac amrywiaeth eu cymunedau lleol, ond mwyn aros yn agored, cadw ei ffïoedd yn isel, a dal i ddarparu'r gwasanaethau y mae ei tair angen. Mae angen ei defnyddio. Gallwch ddod i wybod am glybiau gofal plant a llysgol drwy wefan Clybiau Plant Cymru Kids Clubs, Dewis Cymru, neu wefan Arolygiaeth Gofal Cymru. Mae defnyddio clwb sydd wedi ei gofrestru gydag Arolygiaeth Gofal Cymru yn golygu y bydd staff yn gymwysedig wedi ei gwirio gan y gwasanaeth datgelu a gwahardd, a bod y gwasanaeth yn bodloni'r safonau gofynol cenedlaethol. Y mae hefyd yn agor y drws i gynlluniau cymorth ariannol lle byddwch yn gymwys.
What will your children's favourite play memories be?
Croeso I Cynhadledd Ceremony o Brio Gofal Plant Ysgol. Welcome to our Out of School Childcare Conference and Award Ceremony 2023. Despite our hopes that this might be an in-person event this year, both budgets and accessibility for all made us decide to build on the success of last year's event and hold it virtually once again. In reality, keeping this online does actually make it more accessible, allowing more people to attend from their own homes following a rewarding day in club. I'd like to welcome our nominees, clubs, Playwork graduates and other partners joining us on our conference on YouTube. Also to our presenters here on our StreamYard platform. Luckily, there aren't many housekeeping rules as you will not need to be muted and the other participants won't be able to see you. You will, however, still be able to message us through YouTube and all working well. We will see your comments and questions in the chat function in StreamYard. There will, of course, be every opportunity to ask questions at the end of each presentation. And if there are any we can't get to, we will follow up all questions at the end of the conference. So if everyone's sitting comfortably, we shall begin by having a quick look at the agenda. I'll shortly give you an update on the current state of the sector and then launch our brand new project, The Welsh Promise. We'll then hear from our speakers, interspersed with our award presentations. My sector update must start with a thank you to the out-of-school childcare sector, its play workers, managers and volunteers. The last year has been no easier than the two previous. Tonight we celebrate you, the sector, your resilience and your tenacious ability that supports Welsh children to keep playing, supporting their families to work and helping their communities to prosper. We know that the families and children who utilise the expertise of out-of-school childcare sector appreciate you. And you can see from the comments on the slide, just a few taken from our parents and carers survey undertaken last June, the depth of feeling and what it means to be able to access childcare in your setting. Our work will continue to be to support you and to help you sustain with reduced numbers and rising costs, whilst embracing changes that are in the programme for government and the cooperation agreement. As I mentioned in this event last year, we need to ensure that the sector benefits from upcoming opportunities, such as the reform of the school day and year, along with the introduction of ECEC, early childhood education and care. We'll also continue to be your voice through all aspects of government. We know, both from our club and parent survey, that the sector is still struggling with continued reduced uptake of places, increased costs such as rents by schools. One I've heard this week has had their rent increased by 500%, as well as increased utility costs. Our club numbers continue to reduce, with more clubs closing and not being replaced by new ones. Since March 2020, we know that over 200 clubs have closed. And while some have opened at the end of December, we calculate the overall net decrease brings the number of clubs that we support to around 1,500, the lowest since 2012. You can see above the reduction of the number of clubs just since April 2022 to our figures in December 2023. I think this demonstrates just how tough it is out there for you, our clubs, to keep running. A third of the clubs responded to our State of the Sector National Club Survey. Those results have now been collated, and we will share the final report in the very near future. The survey demonstrates and tells us, as expressed by clubs, what support is needed. 73% say they need support with funding, 49% with training. Another 49% need assurance that the sector is included in any government priorities and schemes. 47% need recruitment support, and 45% want parental awareness, support with parental awareness of regulated childcare benefits. We know that sustainability, as well as recruitment and retention issues, remain significant, and we're doing all we can to support the sector and promote all training opportunities that we have to increase the number of play workers available to support the sector, and we're working closely with Welsh Government to promote play work as a career. Whilst we're trying to support club development and their opportunities, we have some of our own developments which we are excited to share with you tonight. The first of which is recognition by the Moondance Foundation of the importance of out-of-school childcare sector and what it brings both for children's well-being as well as the economy for Wales. Clybia Plant Cymru Kids Clubs are delighted that they have secured a donation from the foundation to allow us again once more to provide free membership for the sector from the year April 2023. We understand that the £55 membership fee, whilst only a small amount of money to reap the benefits of our membership resources, it might just be the tipping point for some clubs. So we're very grateful to the trustees of the Moondance Foundation for this recognition and support. The foundation will also be supporting access to out-of-school childcare for disadvantaged children and their families through an assisted places scheme which we will launch in April. The scheme will see children who may not otherwise have the opportunity to attend and reap the benefits of an out-of-school childcare club, whilst also helping to sustain clubs by taking up spare places. It's intended that clubs will work closely with schools and social workers to offer these places to children in a non-stigmatised way. You will already have seen our new website launched on our 21st birthday. Today, we'd also like to tell you about a new portal linked to the website where you, our members, will be able to access your club records and help us keep your information up to date. The secure portal will allow us to send you information on projects that are relevant to you, as well as keeping our knowledge and support for you and as your voice for government current too. You'll see some communications coming out about the portal and how to grant access to your staff to allow them to benefit from the resources in the members section of the members area of the website. Bringing my update to a close and to get on to the more exciting part of the evening, I'd now like to officially launch our newest project. Yr Addewid Cymraeg, the Welsh Promise. Clybia Plant Cymru Kids Clubs recognises the importance of developing the Welsh language and is proud of taking an active role in contributing through our projects to Welsh Government's target of 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050. The Welsh Promise is a way for childcare and play settings to increase their use of Welsh and demonstrate their work towards the active offer, breaking the work down into manageable bite-sized sections. The active offer and introducing Welsh language can seem like a daunting process for settings, but the Welsh Promise provides settings with a step-by-step guide to work towards this without getting overwhelmed. It includes an achievable action plan that, with support from Culham's Welsh Language Development Officers, it will inspire everyone involved to use the Welsh language for the benefit of the children and the communities where they live. In committing to the promise, settings will be able to develop their use of Welsh and create an environment where the language is the natural part of the settings offer to children. Whether settings are at the beginning of their Welsh journey or are already using some Welsh, the bronze, silver and gold levels allow settings to use Welsh in a way that's appropriate for them. Once they've achieved one level, they can move on to the next and do more with the plentiful help available from Culham's Welsh Language Development Officers. Clybia Plant Cymru Kids Clubs, as will other partners in Culham, Early Years Wales, Mudiad Maithrin, Pacey Cymru and NDNA Cymru, will support settings through each certificate or level of the Welsh Promise, working in manageable sections, as I mentioned. There'll also be resources through the Welsh Language Development Officer, providing practical support and wider assistance through the Camau Learn Welsh courses provided through the National Centre for Learning Welsh, which will further support the Welsh Promise by increasing the number of childcare and play workers using some Welsh in their settings, supporting progress to deliver the active offer. The Welsh Promise has been embraced and is being implemented by all Culham partners and has been endorsed by the Welsh Language Commissioner's Office, which described it as a way for settings to set clear, ambitious and fun steps to share their Welsh language with their attendees, staff and wider family. Kevin, who joins us tonight, Head of Inspection, Childcare and Play Care, Inspectorate Wales, also welcomes the positive development to support the use of Welsh language in childcare and playwork settings. I would personally like to thank Sian James, our lead Welsh Language Childcare Business Development Officer, for Clybia Plant Cymru Kids Clubs, who has, with support from Nicole Lovett, our Development Manager based in North Wales, developed the Promise for Culham partners. This is just one of the ways that all Culham partners will be supporting the 2050 target. There'll be more information on how you can work towards the promise in the goodie bag at the end of the ceremony. So tonight is about celebrating. We have 9 awards for which we have received many worthy nominations. Demonstrates the amount of how much the wonderful work that's going on in the out of school childcare sector. It's been tough choosing the winners, but very inspiring reading the individual nominations and understanding the breadth of feeling and admiration for the work of the clubs, play workers and volunteers. Here you will see the list of shortlisted clubs, and the awards that they have been nominated for are Out of School Childcare Club, Champions of Inclusion, Play Champion, Commitment to Continuing Professional Development, Welsh Language Champion and Supporting Staff Wellbeing. And here we see the play workers and volunteers, and the categories that they have been shortlisted for are Play Worker of the Year, Learner of the Year and Volunteer of the Year. Play workers are at the heart of our work, and where would we be without them? You will, as you are in the virtual waiting room, have seen some videos produced last year promoting the role of the play worker and clubs, also how parents really cannot do without you. We'll be revealing the winners throughout the evening. The only drawback to this streaming service is that we'll not be able to do a big reveal and show the recipients getting their awards. Perhaps those who receive an award can put a comment in the chat. Now I'd like to invite Nicola Edwards, Deputy Director, Early Years Childcare and Play Division, to speak.
Thanks, Jane, and thank you everybody for the invitation to come back to your award ceremony this year after last year. I have to say last year's ceremony was absolutely fantastic, and it was lovely to see so many people win such well-deserved prizes celebrating the work that you do in the out-of-school childcare sector, and particularly in relation to play and play work for children and young people. And it's a wonderful opportunity to be back here again this year talking to you about some of the things that we're doing within Welsh Government and the importance that the Welsh Government places on childcare and play services. So not to hold up things too long, as you can see, we have the slides ready to go. So I'm going to be talking to you very briefly about childcare and play in Wales. Last year, we published our Children and Young People's Plan. I'm hoping that most of you will have heard of this and had the opportunity to have a look at it. It's available on our website, and it sets out our commitment as a government to what we will be delivering to support children and young people across Wales. And central to that is our key ambition for every child to have the best start in life. That is the founding principle of the Children and Young People's Plan. It's the ambition that's been set out by the Deputy Minister for Social Services, Julie Morgan, who leads on childcare and play services. And as you can see here, like it says, we want the best for our children, no matter what their backgrounds, where they come from, or where they live. We want every child to have the best start in life. And to us in Welsh Government, that means ensuring that every child has access to high quality childcare and play opportunities wherever they are, whatever community they live in, whatever background they come from. And that's really important to us. And one of the speakers on the video that we were running at the start was talking about the importance of inclusive play, and that's really integral to our thinking here as well. We want to make sure that play opportunities are inclusive for everybody and that everybody has the opportunity to play. Within that context, we have a number of priorities that have been set for us within our programme for government, and these are the top three in relation to childcare and play provision. So the first is to fund more childcare for families where parents are in education and training or on the edge of work. So you may be familiar with our funded childcare schemes that are available through both Flying Start and the Childcare Offer. The Childcare Offer, which is available to parents in working parents, has been extended to parents in education and training since September, really opening up those opportunities to make childcare and play provision more available for more families. And we know that that's been really important for people across Wales. And we know that there are a huge number of out-of-school childcare settings that are delivering funded childcare through the offer. We also have a commitment to deliver a phased expansion of early years provision to include all 2-year-olds, with a particular emphasis on strengthening Welsh medium provision. This is being delivered through an expansion of our Flying Start programme, with a focus on the childcare element for 2 to 3-year-olds. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, well, out of school childcare, we don't necessarily get into 2 to 3-year-olds. They're maybe a bit younger than we would normally deal with. They're not in school. But Flying Start does include an element of holiday provision. So there are some sessions that are available in the school holidays outside of term time as well. So there may well be some opportunities there for some of your settings to become more involved. And we also then have the commitment to continue to support our flagship Flying Start programme. But while these may not necessarily jump out at you straight away as things that you can see yourselves and your clubs delivering, I would like to say that it's part of a continuum. What some of the conversations we've been having with the Deputy Minister have really emphasised the importance of childcare and play opportunities for children of all ages. And we saw that through the delivery of our Playworks programme and through the delivery of the Summer of Fun that was available last year, where we know that the out-of-school childcare sector played a huge role in providing children with lots of opportunities for fun and laughter over the summer holidays, which is so important in terms of helping them make those vital connections. In terms of our commitments going forward over the course of the next few years, first and foremost, and building on some of the points Jane was making, we want to continue to promote the sector as an exciting and rewarding career for everybody. We know that many of you have been struggling with recruitment and retention challenges in terms of your workforce, that some of you would like to progress your careers within the sector further, and we want to support you to do that. So we're working with our partners in Social Care Wales through the We Care campaign to make sure that more people are aware of the many and varied opportunities available to them within the childcare and play sector, and making sure that more families are aware not necessarily just through Social Care Wales, but working with Cullen partners and across our own social media platforms and other comms messaging, making sure that more parents are aware of the opportunities that out-of-school childcare in particular can present for them and their families. There was a gentleman on the video talking about taking the opportunity to make sure his daughter had friends to play with after school rather than coming home with him and sitting in front of the telly. And I think that's really important, and that's a message we need to get across to parents, that it's not just about childcare to enable them to work, it is about play and opportunities for children to have fun and to really embed and build on the social interactions that they have in school. Alongside that, we're going to be reviewing our 10-year workforce plan, looking at how we can best support the sector and the training and development needs that we need to put in place to make sure that you can thrive and build on the success of your clubs. Jane mentioned the Early Childhood Education and Care programme and the opportunities that that presents, and we're intending to publish an action plan setting out what will be done underneath that strand of work later this year. We're also going to be taking forward the findings from the Ministerial Review of Play, which was published just the other week. It set out a whole host of recommendations for how we can take forward play opportunities and play work as a profession across Wales, and I think that's really important for the out-of-school childcare sector as well. We're going to be confirming and announcing our capital funding allocations shortly and working with local authorities to make sure that capital funding is available to childcare settings and playwork settings across Wales. And as I said, we'll be maintaining and expanding both Flying Start and the childcare offer. And we'll be looking to increase Welsh medium childcare provision in particular, which is one of the things that Jane was mentioning when she was talking about the Welsh Promise and the importance that we're placing alongside that. The Welsh Government is fully committed to moving towards 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050. We want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate in Welsh society in either Welsh or English as they choose. And that means increasing the opportunities for Welsh medium childcare for children from both Welsh medium homes and from English medium homes, so that they can enjoy the benefits through the language of their choice. With that in mind, I was particularly pleased to see the work that has been put forward into the Welsh Promise, and Jane's launching of that earlier, I think really underlines the amount of hard work that everybody has put into it, and I would like to congratulate Jane and her team for all of the work they've put into developing the Welsh Promise and for the work that they've done with Cullen partners to deliver on that and to really promote and drive forward the active offer. I really also want to thank all of you who are participating in the work around the Welsh Promise and the journey to move from maybe being a fully English medium setting to being bilingual, or from a bilingual setting to being Welsh medium, and increasing the use of Welsh across the community and making sure that children have those opportunities and that exposure to the language. We know the benefits of bilingualism for children, particularly in their early years, are fantastic in terms of brain development, and it also opens up whole new worlds for them as they go on and develop and thrive through later life. So I think it's a really important achievement, and I just want to take some time to really recognise that and to thank the sector for the work that you're putting into driving forward that commitment and delivering against Cymraeg 2050. It's a really proactive opportunity, and it's lovely to see the childcare sector leading the way. Finally, I would just like to close by saying thank you, diolch, to everybody for all of the work that you do and the opportunities that you provide children across the board in terms of childcare and play opportunities. I'm going to share with you a little story about my niece. My niece is 5. She has been going to school for a couple of years now with her early education and then moving into reception and moving up through the school years. She was in one of the years that was disrupted, unfortunately, by the pandemic. So she started her early education later than she should have done. And the school was not able to support either the breakfast club or the after school club for her full first year there, which gave my sister quite a lot of headaches in terms of picking her up and dropping her off and making sure that she had the opportunities to take things forward and learn from her peers and socialise. My sister was particularly worried that she was not getting some of the opportunities to spend time with her friends, and that over the course of the pandemic, her main social outlet had been my sister and brother-in-law, who, while lovely people, were not necessarily up to quite as many games as she wanted to play with her dolls and balancing their work commitments. I'm really pleased to say that over the course of the last school year, the out-of-school childcare club in her school has been able to pick up and reopen and start providing more opportunities. And they've been really, really proactive in terms of thinking out the box and looking at new opportunities for children as well. So they've been running themed activity sessions to bring more children in and making an effort in the school holidays to get children out and about and doing different things. So she's thoroughly enjoyed the Lego outdoor activities. She's really enjoyed the gardening. She's come home singing the praises of the lady who does the gardening with them and learning from all of those opportunities. And she's really thrived through the opportunities that the club has presented for her. And just a couple of weeks ago, she took my mum to the playground next to the club, that the clubhouse next to where the clubhouse takes the activities forward, so that she could show my mum her favourite playground, which is the one that the club runs for her. So I really wanted to share with you the opportunities that has opened up for her and the inspiration that has provided for her in terms of her development. She's thriving. She's loving every minute of it. She really loves the people in the club. She loves going, and she can't wait to go back. She's very upset when my sister picks her up early, in fact picks her up from school on a club night. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood the impact that you're having on individual children and seeing how that goes forward. I know that Jane is hoping that there'll be an opportunity for those of you who want to ask questions of me to do so. And if you want to pop those into the comments and chat, we can try and deal with those as we go along, or I can answer them as we go forward over the evening. But I really did just want to stress and thank you all for everything that you do. And on behalf of myself and the Deputy Minister and the Welsh Government, please continue to provide these wonderful opportunities for children and young people across Wales.
Thank you, Nicola, and thank you for your update. And, you know, it's so heartwarming to hear that your niece is enjoying out-of-school childcare as much as she is, and how much she's benefiting, and that it's her favourite playground. I think that our clubs and play workers will really enjoy that story. We have got we've had a couple of questions come in, Nicola. I'm going to try and summarise them quickly. Questions about lack of qualified childcare, particularly at level 3, which obviously is part of the regulations, and so CIW are saying that must have more staff at that level. We've got another comment around recruitment. A club trustee of an out-of-school club couldn't get staff. They employed a lady from Ukraine. She was the best applicant, got a degree, primary school teacher, but obviously still needs the play work qualification. I think clubs are asking the need for play work. Is it necessary? What are we going to be able to maybe do with the review of NMS, and maybe working towards might be something that we can look into in the future? Could you maybe just give a little bit of an update on that, if possible?
I shall do my best, but first I would like to really congratulate that club that employed that lady from Ukraine. It's lovely to hear of that actually happening. It's one of the things we were really hoping we would see with more of the people that have been coming over there being able to settle and find rewarding careers. So it's absolutely fantastic that they've been able to do that. And I shall pass that back to the Minister for Social Justice, because she will love to hear about that opportunity. The downside is the club in question may find that they get a visit, but that we shall build on that. In terms of recruitment and retention, and particularly the training challenges, and this issue around the playwork qualification has come up quite a lot, and you'll be aware of that, Jane. I can't tell you not to have a qualification. We think qualifications are really important. We think that one of the real benefits from registered childcare is that the people who run it have the right checks in place, the DBS checks, the qualifications, the skills and the abilities to really support those children, and those playwork qualifications are integral to that. And I may be putting words in Kevin's mouth here, and I know he's coming up a bit later, but I really want to reassure all clubs that it is not a case where if you don't have everybody with the right qualifications right here, right now, that's the end. We are pragmatic people. We respect that it takes time to get a qualification, and that workforces are constantly evolving. People come and they go, and that means that at some point you meet the ratios and at some point you don't. And we would like to work with clubs to make sure that we can support them towards meeting those ratios and those targets. So I'm sure Kevin will provide that in a much clearer, more pragmatic manner, but that's very much where we want to go. In terms of training and support, we have been funding places on the training courses through yourself, in fact, and other organisations through Progress for Success. That's our European funded good training programme. Unfortunately, Progress for Success, along with most European funding, comes to an end in March. But we are looking at bringing in a new training programme to replace it, and that will include play work activities and funding to support those qualifications going forward, because we know how important they are for everybody. So we will be working on that over the coming weeks to make sure that there is something there from the end of March.
That's excellent. That's really good news, and I think it's for the sector to know that CIW are happy with the clear plan in place within clubs for working towards playwork qualifications.
Like I said, I don't want to get ahead of myself there. Kevin, I'm sure, will have his own response to that, and I'm sure he will make that clear when he comes on. But CIW are there to help clubs, and they want to work with clubs. It's not that they're coming in to be particularly horrible to everybody.
That's it, and it's excellent the number of playwork opportunities that have been afforded across Wales in the last year or so with Progress for Success, and great news to hear that something including playwork is going to continue after the European funding finishes. So that's great news for us all. Question now, touched on it a little. What do you think that the role that childcare and playwork providers will play in hitting the target of 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050?
I think they're integral to it, to be honest, Jane. So this is a conversation that I've been having just today, in fact, with both the Deputy Minister, Julie Morgan, and with Sian Gwenllian, the member of the Senedd for Plaid Cymru, who works with her on the cooperation agreement. It's really important to the Welsh Government that we reach that target of 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050. We have seen some particular issues in the last few years off the back of the pandemic, with people maybe not transitioning through from Welsh medium childcare into Welsh medium education and on, because of some of the disruption and parents feeling like they can't support them. Our view is that the earlier children start to learn, speak and actively use Welsh, if they come from an English home or English if they come from a Welsh home, the two languages together is really important in terms of building those relationships and really thinking about it. And you can't necessarily just start school and hope for the best. So getting that exposure at an early age through childcare provision is really important, and being able to reinforce it through the holidays as well. It's really challenging, we know, for children who come from English speaking homes but go to Welsh medium school. If during the holidays they can't find Welsh medium childcare and play opportunities, they lose so much of the Welsh over that period if they don't have the opportunity to use it. So it is really integral to us that goes forward. I'm a bit of a living and talking and breathing example of that, to be honest. I went to a bilingual primary school and then transitioned into an English medium secondary school and promptly shed loads of Welsh. So it's really easy to lose and difficult to keep. So that it's really important that childcare is there to reinforce that. And I think that's a real opportunity there for the sector to broaden into different spaces.
Thanks, Nick. This is quite a relevant question next, about the support available for the huge rise in running costs. We're not only getting increases in the utilities, etc., but we're hearing about some exorbitant increases in rents from schools. The latest one is a 500% increase per week. How are clubs supposed to deal with that? It's just it's scary. The end effect will be that that prices will have to increase for parents, and then there's that knock-on effect as well, isn't there?
Absolutely. And when you said 500% earlier in your introduction, I have to say my eyebrows did raise, but nobody would have been able to see that because I was lurking in the background. I think probably most of us are fairly realistic that with the current state of finances everywhere, some rent increases, someone somewhere is going to face a rent increase on something, but a 500% rent increase feels instinctively ridiculously excessive. In terms of what we can do within my team and within government, we can certainly pick that up with the other parts of Welsh Government and with local authorities. And if you want to give me the examples of that particular case, Jane, if you can, so I know you'll need to speak to the setting about that, we can raise that and have those conversations with them. I can see that the question specifically is about sort of running cost and support. At the moment, as you will know, and as your members are probably well aware, there is not a dedicated funding stream to help with these costs available from Welsh Government. That's not to say that we wouldn't like to do it, it just isn't there. It's something that we had during the pandemic. We had some sustainability grants that were available. We tried a couple of methods for doing it. We seemed to hit on one that more or less worked towards the end of it, but that funding isn't there at the moment. That's not to say it couldn't be again in the future. It's something we could look at. It needs to be considered within the context of some of our wider budgets and other pressures, but it's something that I'm quite happy to have a look at, and we'll have some conversations, like I said, with our education and local government colleagues around the rents that they charge. It is really difficult times for everybody, and I do respect and understand that, because the last thing you want to do is pass on those cost increases to parents, particularly in some of the communities that you're operating in where they're already running at tight margins as well. So one of the other things we're having some conversations about internally is programs like our Playworks program, and also programs like the School Holiday Enrichment program, and how we can open those up to more providers and provide different opportunities there as well, to deliver those services.
That's really welcome news, Nick, and I'm so glad to hear that you're looking at that. That will mean a great deal to the sector. I know that we're probably running a little bit behind time, so just a couple of questions. So just to clarify that Megan Pocock-Thompson is not asking all of these questions. We've had them come in via email. I thought
she was quite a prolific questioner, to be honest. She had a lot she wanted to know.
And she's posting them for us on YouTube. So just how important do you see, you've touched on it already, the role of the out-of-school childcare sector in supporting the Welsh economy?
It's critical. It really is critical. The childcare sector is a key enabler of the economy. We talk about this quite a lot. I think the sector as a whole employs around 17,000 people, not the out-of-school childcare sector, the whole childcare and play sector employs around 17,000 people across Wales. So as an employer, it's a vital contributor to the economy. The evidence that we had from a piece of work we did back in sort of 2017 suggested that parents who accessed childcare, funded childcare, went on to contribute over £1 billion to the economy of Wales. So when you think about it in that context, childcare is critical, and it's one of the reasons why we were so keen to keep childcare up and running, both for the benefits for children and to ensure that parents could continue to access those important services during the pandemic. It's often a bit like the unsung hero. You only notice something when it's not there, which I think is something that you've definitely found with some of the clubs you've been working with over the last year, that they've almost been taken for granted. And then when they're not there, parents are suddenly asking where they are. So it's how we drive that point home, really, to politicians and parents, that if you don't use something, you will lose it. And then it will be really difficult to get it back. So those are messages that we are continuing to press, and we will continue to press as we go forward.
Okay, I'm going to quickly skip through a few more questions. How do you recruit trustees? Dylan Sten, get in contact with us. We will certainly help you with that. An interesting one here, the 16-hour per week contract rule to access the Playwork course. This is obviously work-based learning and apprenticeship funding, I would imagine. It's really difficult for after-school clubs. Are there plans for future to relax this rule?
So I think I'm right in saying that we have been, over the past few years, trialling apprenticeships that had only a 10-hour requirement rather than 16 hours. And that's one of the things we are looking at in terms of the continuation of funding post-Progress for Success, is how we can continue to operate those opportunities. I can't commit to it because we're still having those conversations with the people who fund the apprenticeships, but I will keep Jane posted. And as soon as Jane can come out and confirm the position for you, I'm sure she will.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. And one last quick question. Do you think supernumerary with groups over 20 will change?
Oh, now there's a question. This is actually something that we consulted on as part of the recent consultation around changes to the national minimum standards. So without wanting to prejudge anything around that, we have published a summary of the responses to the consultation paper. I have to say this is one of the ones that's been a little bit more contested. I think probably most childcare settings are broadly in favour of removing it, but there are some concerns for some, and in particular some of the members of staff who would fall within that, around how they would make sure they still had enough time and capacity within the day to do the work that sits around that, and really take forward some of those management responsibilities. So we're going to be picking that up with Cullen Partners and with local authorities over the next couple of weeks to make sure that we get the balance right. We don't want to require you to do something that's overly onerous, but we also don't want to do something that causes you more problems in the long run. So hopefully more news on that one coming soon, Suzanne, and I'm sorry I can't give you a straight answer, but as soon as we can, I know that Jane and her team will come out and let you know what the deal is.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for your update, and thanks for those really informative answers. I'm going to ask you now if you could please present our first two awards. So
I can do indeed.
Welsh Language Champion and then the Play Champion. Over to you if that's okay.
Okay, so obviously this is the award for the Welsh Language Champion, an award close to my heart and with hot on the heels of the Welsh Promise, obviously something that's very, very important as well, that we take that forward. So without further ado, I would like to say that the winner for the Welsh Language Champion is, small drum roll, if we could get to the next slide, please. Here we go, Woodlands Childcare Centre in Neathport Talbot. So congratulations to Woodlands Childcare Centre. I hope you are rightly proud of this achievement. Llongyfarchiadau mawr. Just on the screen there, we've got the information that was provided to us as part of the nomination process, which I think is a sterling outcry to you and your staff for all of the hard work that you're doing. So please celebrate hard, Woodlands Childcare Centre. I hope you've got the champagne open. And the second award that I have been asked to present tonight is for the Play Champion. This is also something that I think is critically important. And if it didn't come across in what I was saying earlier, it really should have done. Children's play is hugely, hugely important to their development, socially, emotionally, their well-being, and just really provides the footing for happiness and long-term sustainability in what they go on to do. So the Play Champion, without any further ado, will be Elemental Adventures in Ceredigion. So congratulations to Elemental Adventures. Again, absolutely well-deserved award. Llongyfarchiadau mawr. Really, really pleased for you and really pleased that people can see the wonderful tribute that has been made to you and your staff and your setting there in terms of the work that you do to promote play and play opportunities for children. So congratulations to both of those. I can see you're congratulating hard there, Elemental Adventures. Well done. And again, I hope that the champagne is open. Well done, everybody. And thank you very much. Jane, back to you.
Thanks, Nicola, and llongyfarchiadau to our first two winners. I would now like to introduce Kevin Barker, Head of Childcare and Play in Care Spectrum Wales, and he'll be joined shortly by Dawn Duffy, Team Manager Registration, Care Spectrum Wales.
Nosweather pawb. Good evening, everyone. Lovely to see you all again. I was here last year. It's good to be back. First of all, I want to say how happy I am to be here talking to you. These really are challenging times for many, if not all of you. And it's good to be part of something positive that recognises the vital role you play in supporting children in Wales. Jane alluded to those challenging times, and I'm pretty sure when I was here last year, I probably said something very similar. And I'm aware things haven't really got any easier for the sector in the intervening 12 months. So a heartfelt thanks to all of you for what you do. I'm a parent myself. I'm a recent grandparent. As a parent, I used out-of-school clubs, and I very much hope and expect that my granddaughter, who's 15 months, will use out-of-school clubs herself when she gets older. So yeah, just to reinforce the thanks to you for what you do. And while quite correctly CIW have had no part in determining the awards tonight, it's great to see Clybie Plant Cymru taking responsibility to promote and encourage quality, something that I hope our own inspections do also. So just before I move on, just to perhaps deal with the issue that Nicola picked up there in one of the questions about the play work qualifications and the requirements and so on. I'm not sure I can answer it any better than Nicola did, actually. We will try to take a proportionate approach when we're considering that issue on inspection. We will be we'll take particular note if a setting has got a clear plan about how it's going to try to meet that requirement. And of course, we do always try to look at things in the round. So while I can't make any guarantee that it will never be an issue for us, I I can make a guarantee that our inspectors will do their best to look at things in the round and take a proportionate approach. And so much depends on what else is happening in the club, in the setting, and how well other elements of what you do are going. So yeah, just to reinforce really that Nicola was spot on really in terms of what she was saying about the approach that we would take. So just to move on then, just 10 minutes or so from me to update you on a few things from CIW from the inspection team's perspectives. I'm really sorry about the small font on this one. What I really want to say is that the SAS is now open and encourage you to complete it. So the self-assessment of service statement, the SAS. I know it's another thing for you to do in your busy lives, but, and this is the important point, there's probably never been a more important time to have a clear understanding about the makeup of the sector and the outer school clubs within it. I referenced the pressures in the sector just now, and I know that outer school clubs have been particularly hard hit post-pandemic, and Jane was referring to that in her introduction earlier this evening. So getting accurate information is important for CIW, true, but I would say it's absolutely crucial for Nicola and her colleagues as they advise and support ministers in delivering their priorities. And Nicola was outlining the hugely ambitious and welcome priorities that ministers have for childcare and play in Wales, and outer school clubs are a key part of that. So it's a long-winded way really of saying please complete the SAS, and there's lots of information on our website about it and how to get support to complete it if needed. As the very tiny font there says, it is open now. It closes on the 17th of March, and there will be an interactive data report of the findings that we'll publish later in 2023, which you'll be able to take down to sort of local authority level, which should be helpful for people. And just to reinforce that the quality of care report that you will have in place is a really important part of the SAS. It's as important as the data about what you do, how much of it you do, and so on. So yeah, please complete the SAS. Next, I just want to say a few words about a project that we've got on the go at the moment, about promoting improvement. So the project is called the Childcare and Play Improvement Project. It has been underway now for 5 or 6 months. It's just beginning to gather some pace at the moment. So I'll just say a few words about that. Any organisation, no matter how big or small, should regularly consider whether it could do things better. And that's as true for CIW as it is for an out-of-school club. This project is considering these questions, among others, and they are pretty fundamental, aren't they? Do our inspections lead to improvement of services? Is any change we request sustained over time? Does it actually make things better for children? Are services aware of their responsibilities around continuous improvement? So they're pretty fundamental questions, as I said, and I do think it's important that we ask ourselves them regularly. If you want to know my answer to those questions, it's not a very exciting answer. I think the answer is somewhat, to some degree, but we could do more, and we could do better, and that's one of the reasons we've set up the project that I'm just talking about. So one of the things we're going to pilot is holding improvement meetings with providers in between inspections, with a particular focus on encouraging those settings that manage to achieve adequate ratings in our inspections to become good, and those settings that achieve good ratings to achieve excellence, because the vast majority of childcare and play services in Wales, I'm talking about childcare and play more generally here, not out of school clubs specifically, I do realise, the vast majority are somewhere in the middle. There's a small percentage of settings that are poor, for one or more of our themes for one reason or another, and inevitably and probably appropriately, we do spend a lot of our time focused on those settings. At the other end of the scale, there's probably, last time I looked, 10 to 12% of settings that manage to achieve 4 excellence, or an excellent for each of the themes that we inspect. And well done them, and good luck to them. In the middle, though, are most settings that do a good job, a reasonably good job for the children who use them. My view is, if we want to make things even better for children using settings in Wales, if we want to help Welsh Government achieve their great ambition for childcare and play settings in Wales, then we have to pay a bit more attention to those settings that are in the middle. So those improvement meetings are a conversation is our thinking at the moment, not an inspection, but a structured conversation in which we hear about what has been achieved since the last inspection, what is planned before the next, what we might be able to do to help by signposting people to best practice examples and other information. And there are all sorts of difficult questions for us to overcome in the project about how much of that we do, how we create the capacity to do it, and so on. But I think the ambition is the right one at the moment. So please keep an eye on information on our website or in our newsletters, and get involved where you can. And I know we've already had people come forward volunteering to be part of our provider stakeholder group, and we have just recently gone out asking people if they're interested in helping us pilot the improvement meetings that I've just been talking about. So just a word about improvement, which I've mentioned in talking about the project, and just really to emphasize that promoting improvement is one of CIW's guiding principles, as you can see there. And we want to work closely with Welsh Government policy colleagues, providers and other stakeholders to create a shared commitment to improving outcomes for children. And as I just mentioned, we will shortly be setting up a provider stakeholder group, and we're going to continue to keep you updated as the project develops. So that's a little bit about the project. So now just a few words about, if you like, the business as usual part of what we're doing. So inspections have returned to pre-pandemic methodology and have been that way for quite a while, actually. I'll just pause on that bullet just to say, though, that the pandemic, awful, dreadful as it was, disruptive as it was, did bring some positive learning for us in CIW. And we did find that the check-in calls, and to perhaps a slightly lesser degree, the monitoring calls that we undertook with providers during the pandemic, when many settings were closed and some were struggling to stay open and unsure whether they were staying open and so on, those calls were actually very well received by most of the providers involved. And we've tried to think a bit about why that was and whether we can use some of that in our business in the future. And that's influenced to a good degree those ideas about having conversations with providers in between inspections that I was talking about earlier. We've resumed awarding ratings in all our inspections. We remain the only part of CIW that has published ratings, although colleagues on the adult and children's side are going to be piloting ratings in their inspections in the fairly near future. And we will also be resuming ratings with our joint inspections with Estin after February half term, so very soon. As you may know, those non-maintained settings that provide an element of funded education, we inspect jointly with our colleagues at Estin. And then just finally, just repeating really something that I said earlier, just to reinforce it, Most settings are doing a really good job in difficult and challenging circumstances, and the children in Wales have, for the most part, a good experience from using services like yours that you provide. Okay, a few reminders. I thought I'd take the opportunity to give. I think this is really self-explanatory, really. But the last point is probably worth stressing. Child protection is absolutely central to safeguarding, but safeguarding and therefore protecting children is wider than that and encompasses issues such as safe recruitment of staff, the environment, the way the setting is run. Just to be clear, that doesn't mean necessarily that any issue of that sort has to be referred as a safeguarding concern to the local authority. It depends on the issue and the context and the risk. But if you're unsure, it's always good to have a conversation with the local authority safeguarding lead to try and clarify those issues. But we have found that reports are not always being made to the local authority safeguarding team as required, and we're not always being informed of significant events or safeguarding reports that are being made. So I'm sure it doesn't apply to people who are here today, but just a reminder of those. And then a few more reminders. Sorry about the small print here, mostly self-explanatory. DBS needs to be in place for household members and assistants. None of that. Household members obviously doesn't apply to yourselves or assistants, but just to stress that one of the virtues of being registered is the assurance that parents and carers get from the fact that DBS is in place. So that's important. Just to note, where we issue an area for improvement from an inspection, if that's not been addressed by the next inspection, that will then escalate to a priority action notice, which then puts a setting clearly on our enforcement pathway. So although the AFIs are of lesser concern to us than a priority action notice, they do need attention. It's great that we've now got direct messaging in place via our online accounts, and we should now be requesting all documentation from you via direct messaging. And just to stress again, really helpful to have your quality of care review reports in place and ready to upload as part of the SAS. So that's a bit of a whistle stop tour through a few issues. I just want to end by thanking you again so much for what you do. I remain convinced that all of us working in partnership with a common aim is the best way to achieve brilliant things for the children using your services and all the childcare and play services in Wales. And I will continue to strive to do exactly that, as will CIW, with your help. So, diolch yn fawr pawb, thank you very much. I think what I'm going to do now then is hand over to my colleague Dawn Duffy to give a bit of an update from the registration perspective in CIW, and I guess we will together then take any questions that we can at the end. Diolch yn fawr. Over to you, Dawn.
Hello. Hello everyone. Noswaith dda pawb. Diolch am y gwahoddiad i ymuno ar noson yma i ddathlu llwyddiant. Dwi'n gallu siarad rhywfaint o Gymraeg, ond gan ein bod yn brin o amser, ymddihiraf, ond dwi am siarad yn Saesneg heno. Good evening all. Thank you for the invitation to get out and join you at this event and celebrate success. I am able to speak some Welsh, but as we've got limited time this evening, apologies, I'll just be doing the presentation in English. So I thought it would be interesting to have a look at the current state of the childcare and play sector as a whole, with a focus on Clybia Plant Cymru after school clubs from a registration team perspective. with some of the statistics and information from Care Inspectorate Wales' most recent annual report. So, from a general perspective, with regards to services and places available for children, we've seen an overall decrease in services and places over the year 2021 to 2022, with the biggest drop in the numbers of childminders in the sector. There's been a slight increase in full daycare services, but not enough to make up for the decreases elsewhere in the sector. The decrease in services is a picture that we've been seeing has been ongoing for a number of years now. However, the decrease in places has been most significant in the year ending the 31st of March 2022. The number of suspended services has slowly declined over the past couple of years. The registration team have been doing a lot of work to get that suspended services register up to date. With regards to language use services, whilst the number of Welsh and bilingual services has decreased over the past year, that percentage split of Welsh and bilingual to English has remained steady. And so the decrease in services has not affected Welsh or bilingual services disproportionately to the rest of the services. Applications for registration. Comparing the year 2021 to 2022 with the previous year, 20 to 21, it's highlighted a decrease in the number of services being registered, those applications that are made to us to register new services. 2020 to 21, we saw 92 childminder applications over the year, and the following year, this dropped down to 45. With regards to daycare as a whole, 188 applications in 2020 to 21, and then those dropped last year to 170. And for the out of school clubs, we've seen a decrease in applications by 6%. So the number of new out of school clubs registering with us has declined. Not significantly, but there is a decline. It's not the way we want to see things going. Applications to cancel registration. We've seen an increase in the number of those services applying to cancel their registration voluntarily. In 2020 to 21, we saw 183 childminders cancel the registration. And then the following year, 289. A similar picture with daycare services going from 181 to 243. And particularly for the out of school club sector, 33 clubs cancelling in 20 to 21, and then this going up to 55 clubs cancelling the following year, which is a 67% increase. As previously mentioned, the number of suspended services has fallen, and the registration team have done a lot of work to sort that out. And this has impacted on the number of services across the board cancelling registration. Some 25% of the cancelled services were from dormant providers that hadn't provided services for a number of years. The remainder were from active providers who were choosing to leave the market, and so we had a look at the reasons that they had decided to do this. The most common reasons given for childminders cancelling their registration was due to obtaining new employment. In some cases, the reason cited for this obtaining of new employment was the financial uncertainty that had been caused by the pandemic. The closure of daycare services was primarily shared out across full daycare, sessional daycare, and out of school club provision. And again, the pandemic was frequently cited as a catalyst for providers leaving the market, resulting in either services no longer being financially viable or the premises no longer being available to rent or lease. Other trends that we've seen in registration work, we continue to see a trend in providers changing their legal entity status to charitable incorporated organisations, with most of these changes affecting the way committees are registered. We've received 152 applications from daycare providers requesting to vary the maximum number of places they were registered to provide. Approximately 3/4 of these applications, we're pleased to see, were seeking to increase the number of places that the service was registered to provide. And the reductions in numbers were often in response to managing staffing challenges, we were told. The overall impact of the changes shows a reduction in the number of registered childcare and play services by 8%, with a 4% decrease in the number of places available for children to use. CIW and the registration team have been working to make improvements to the way we work, as Kevin mentioned previously. And so I thought I would share with you some of the work that the registration team have been focusing on to try and make it easier for new applicants and also registered providers to work with us. We've been reviewing and improving the application forms that we've got on our online system, working through those forms, trying to identify where there may be unclear wording, adding better prompts, so that when applicants come to make their applications for registration or registered providers want to make changes to their conditions or their certificates, they have better information, clearer information, which means when that application comes through to us at the completeness check stage, we are more likely to have the application information that we need at that point, and there's less chance that application will bounce back and be rejected. And also that there's less information for registration inspectors to request when they're doing their assessment work. Referring to the completeness checks, this process used to be, until very recently, one that was done via paper. So you would send in your applications for changes or applications for registration, and the business support team behind the scenes who were looking through these applications had a very cumbersome process, paper-based process to check through all the information and make sure everything was there. This recently has gone to an online process, and that is far quicker and simpler for them to do. And the knock-on effect of that for yourselves is that if you submit an application and there is something missing, it will be checked more quickly, it'll come back to you more quickly and give the opportunity to submit that additional information that's missing in a more timely manner, so we can get on with doing the work from our point of view that we need to do. The introductory email is something else that we've brought into play more recently, and this is something for new applicants. When an application comes into us, the registration inspector is allocated that application, and within 2 weeks of receiving that application, they will send out an introductory email to the brand new applicant introducing themselves, so that applicant has the name of the inspector who'll be working on their application for registration from the start, and they'll be able to communicate directly with them. There's a bit about the process and the parts of the assessment process, and also in a more recently updated version of the introductory email, we've included some of the documents that we've previously requested later on in the assessment process. We're giving applicants a heads up that we will need these documents before we can complete our assessment, and so that they can start gathering them. For example, one of the things that we need to see is the gas safety certificate. This isn't requested as part of the application initially when you fill in the form to apply to register a service, and used to be asked for when the inspector went out to do the premises visit type part of the process, which is near the end usually of the assessment. Well, in the introductory email, that is one of the documents that's on the list, and it says to the applicant, we're going to need to see this. If you haven't already got one that's been checked within the last 12 months for your heating system, it's a good idea to go out and try and find that gas fitter and get one started now. So hopefully giving people the heads up for those documents that we need to see they'll be able to gather them, and there won't be those delays that we have seen previously nearer the end of the assessment process, and we'll be able to help to complete our assessment in a more timely manner for people who want to be registered. So diolch and thank you very much. It's great to get out and be part of something like this, and to see people celebrating success. It's at the other end of the process for the registration team. We usually see the applicants before they're registered, so we miss out then on what the inspection team get to see. So I'm really grateful of the opportunity to come and be involved with you this evening, and I'm going to pass back to my colleague Kevin now, who will present the award for the Out of School Club of the Year. Thank you. Diolch.
Thank you both. Just quickly before we go to the presentation, we've got a few questions. I'd just like to just make a few comments on both of your presentations tonight. I think since I've been in this role, which I think is coming up 7 years now, the work that we've been doing with CIW, I can see the tremendous improvements. CIW Online, SAS. I know we had a run through this year's SAS just ahead of it being launched. And when we think back to that workshop up in Newtown Dawn, when we were trying to work it through to what it looks like today, I just want to say to the settings that are maybe putting off their SAS to maybe into March, just get it done. From what I can see, it is going to be so straightforward this year. The data that you uploaded, I think it was 21, the last one now, isn't it? All of that data's there. You just need to confirm it if things haven't changed. I mean, for me, who doesn't use CIW Online on a very regular basis, just, when we look at it in meetings, it really does look, and I just encourage you to get your SAS done. Get it over and done with. We are here to support. You'll have seen all our support sessions that we've got available. Our staff have got access to the test system so that they can help support you through if you do have any questions. But the improvements are going to make it really easy for you this year. Really good to hear about the improvement project, and I know that we've got a representative supporting CIW with that improvement project as a stakeholder to ensure that the voice of Cullen partners and the childcare sector are there. I think the decrease in numbers, Dawn, it's as I said at the beginning of the presentation. I know that childminders are probably worse off in the number of decreased registrations, but I think as an overall percentage, the out-of-school childcare sector is probably, from their starting point, it's a higher percentage that we've lost. So we really need to try and do all that we can to make those that are left more sustainable. So thank you both for your presentation. We'll go over quickly now before we go to the presentation to some of the questions that have come in. We've covered some of them already, but maybe one that was emailed in ahead of time was, how do you think that we can increase the confidence of English language settings to actually say they're working towards delivering the active offer?
Yeah, and a few things about that, Jane. That's a really good question. I guess the word confidence is key there, isn't it? How do we increase the confidence of people? And lack of confidence is usually related to some fear about the consequences of getting something wrong. And I think what we can do is to emphasize to people that it's not about the amount of words that you know and the number of words that you've got listed. It's just about using what you know as far as you can. And it's about trying things out, taking risks, not worrying if you might get things wrong, and seeking support where you can get it. And there are lots of sources of support out there. And of course, not least, the Welsh Promise that we've heard about this evening, which, I can't say do that and you'll have the active offer, sorted. but clearly it's going to be a big help at the very least, isn't it? So yeah, encourage you to make use of the active offer of the Welsh Promise. There we are.
Thank you, Kevin. We hope that it will help support, because I think some English medium settings just think, oh no, I don't deliver the active offer. But you know, we've looked at some inspection reports and that can see just working towards is you know, can be noted and is coming higher up in inspection reports, more recent inspection reports. So yeah, great if clubs can you know, support the Welsh Promise and help work through it. We're there to help work through it. I think we've covered the difficult to recruit suitably qualified staff in our update earlier. Another question: what do you feel that our role is to support the out of school sector survive? Are you allowed to give an opinion? And maybe that's a controversial question.
No, I don't think it's. I don't see that's controversial at all. You know, I did have a career outside of CIW and Welsh Government, and it was in the third sector. And I think any kind of stakeholder organisation like Club Leo Plant Cymru can have a really important role to play in bringing people. And I know I'm going to trot out a load of sort of obvious things here, but they're obvious because they are the important things. Bringing people together, sharing learning, signposting people to good practice, and you know, trying to help motivate, encourage and support people through what at times are quite difficult times, like now. That's one set of issues, and then I suppose the other set of issues, and which I know, Jane, you and your colleagues do very well, is lobbying people like myself and Nicola, and representing the interests of the sector and making your voices known. And I use the word lobbying there actually, but actually that's wrong. So I want to get away from that sort of idea. It's really about working in partnership, isn't it? And we've got different roles to play, and I know it, and again, this is another cliche, but I only say it because I believe it. You know, we will only achieve what we want to achieve in the sector as a whole if we all work in partnership around a shared objective, which is about better outcomes for children who use the services.
Can I add, Jane, as well, that exactly what Kevin said there about partnership working, it really emphasises to me that the value of working in partnership with yourselves, and you bringing forward your members' issues to us so that we can work on that and, you know, work with you. When we were building the online system, we could not have done that without input from yourselves to get that right. And you know, when I look at the adult sector, you know, and I've done some work with the adult sector who are regulated and the risk of regulation, those people haven't got supporting bodies. And you know, I always reflect back to the Cullen members and say, you know, if only that support was there. You know, when people are putting applications in and when they're registered, it's so invaluable, you know. And our working partnership, I think we've done more and more in recent years, haven't we, working together, and that's definitely the way to go. If there are issues, then we need those, and you're the way to bring those issues from your members to us. It's really valued.
Yeah, and I can't agree more. You know, that partnership work, and you know, us having development officers and training officers out there, you know, being able to visit clubs and understand their concerns or anything that they're struggling with, and then that gets fed back, you know, to myself, and you know, we work together, don't we,
Yes.
to try and work through these and try and get a solution, or you know, a workaround if at all possible. So yeah, we also welcome that partnership working, so thank you. And on a really pleasant note, we've got a message that came in from a club. We could not have completed our second registration without CIW's guidance. All clubs need to know that CIW teams are there to help and guide us. never put off getting in contact with them. The message that came in was quite significantly longer than that, but that's just a snippet of it. So, you know, it's really good news.
Jane, the check's in the post.
Okay, I don't know who it is, honestly. They're anonymous, I promise. But yeah, no, you know, it's really good. And I think CIW can be a daunting body, but actually to see that great work, the registration team were highly commended in that.
Thank you.
That message that came in, that email that came in. So thank you both. Thank you for the update. So we're going to ask you now to present the award for the Out of School Childcare Club of the Year.
Thanks, Jane. Well, this is the really exciting bit. And what I'm going to do first, before we reveal the name, is to read out the nomination for the award. So what was said about this particular, about the winner. This is what was said about the winner. So the childcare service offered by this setting, name withheld there for a second, is next to none. The staff are warm, friendly, and they had so much fun with my little one when she attended the holiday club there. Lots of activities on offer, lots of outdoor play, and a keen interest in healthy eating. She had so much fun there, playing, dancing, making smoothies. She didn't want to come home. This setting was set up in 2008 by a group of parents in need of reliable, trustworthy, and affordable childcare in the Rhondda. The provision is accessible to all. The activities offered to the children support all areas of their development to allow them to reach their full potential. So that's a fantastic nomination by whoever wrote that. And the winner is... So the winner is Dylan's Den. Diane, are there Thog? Very well done. Congratulations. Open the wine or the champagne as you see fit. Diolch.
Thank you both, Kevin and Dawn, and congratulations, llongyfarchiadau to Dylan's Den. It's great to see a club that we helped support to set up with European funding back in 2008 that is still flourishing. So congratulations to all at Dylan's Den. I'd now like to introduce Dawn Bunn, our National Training Manager, who leads a great team. They've supported playworkers and learners, and learning throughout the pandemic. The number of playworkers trained in the last year alone is phenomenal and is tantamount to their intrinsic motivation that they continue to be rewarded with an exemplar rating received from our recent external quality assessment by NCFE, our awarding body for playwork qualifications, who are also represented here tonight. Over to you, Dawn. Thank you. Oh. Dawn, I'm afraid we can't hear you, or I can't.
I was on mute. I've gone all day with meetings and not done that, and then started it today. So let's try again. Thanks, Jane. 2022 saw an amazing number of play workers engaging in training with us and subsequently flourishing in their roles. We've had many high points throughout the year with so many learners making meaningful changes to their practice, and that has benefited children across Wales. Before we celebrate these inspirational and dedicated play workers, it's important that we recognise those that are no longer with us. Clubby Eye Plant Cymru Kids Clubs and the training team were deeply saddened to hear the passing of two of our wonderful learners and an inspirational playwork legend. Playwork's most influential theorist and play activist, Bob Hughes, passed away at the end of 2022. If you've completed a course with us or done any training with Playwork, then you'll know the name of Bob Hughes, or as Bev's coined him, her Bob. Bob was a true advocate for play and has promoted play workers globally to have a better understanding of children's play. Bob will be missed by the playwork sector and, of course, our Bev, who's in that picture there and stalked him at a recent play conference. Marianne Griffiths. Marianne had been in learning with Clubby Eye Plant Cymru Kids Clubs for the past few years, first completing her level 2 and then progressing extremely well onto a level 3. A kind and polite and wonderful learner who respected others, Marianne had a great relationship with all she worked with, children, colleagues, and of course our training officer. She was a great advocate for play, bringing challenging risky play into the setting and regularly challenging people's views on play work, and she provided a range of play opportunities for children and quality play provision. Marianne will be truly missed by us all. Deborah Ivings. We only knew Deb for a short while, but she was a valued and respected learner who had such a positive impact during the sessions, and she was very supportive to her fellow learners. Deb was kind, respectful, and accepting of others. Just a few of the traits and qualities of a good quality play worker. Her newfound passion for play work and play were quite remarkable, and she was excited to bring positive changes and provide great, freely chosen play opportunities for children in the setting. Deb was highly dedicated to her playwork qualification, and we know how much it meant to her to achieve this. So whilst when she passed, she had not yet qualified, our training team, truly motivated by how dedicated Deb was, has worked to collect witness statements, review the evidence from training, and subsequently has been able to put forward the qualification. So although Deb was not there with us to be able to see her achievement, she has now achieved her level 3 playwork. And as we celebrate Deb's achievement, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you the hundreds of dedicated and hardworking learners that have achieved in 2022. We loved working with each and every one of you, and we look forward to watching you grow in your career.
Thanks, Dawn, and once again, congratulations on your exemplary QA and for delivering a phenomenal amount of qualifications throughout the year. I think everyone will have noticed how many qualifications were achieved in December as that PFS project and European funding came to an end. So great work by all of the team. Can I ask you now to present the award for Play Worker of the Year 2023, please?
Yeah, thank you again, Jane. And as you said, yep, the training team were certainly busy in December, but now on to the Play Worker of the Year. So just to tell you what the nominator said, this play worker goes above and beyond to ensure the children have great opportunities to play. They go out of their way to apply for additional grants and funding to ensure that all children from all backgrounds can attend the club and run additional sessions during school holiday periods whenever possible. This is invaluable for children and for their parents. They arrange additional fun activities for the kids and encourage inclusive play for everyone, including children with additional needs. They are an absolute star, a huge asset, and to their club and the community. You can see the impact this has had on the children in terms of their well-being, opportunities to keep fit and exercise. So the winner is Ross Dingle from Cloudcargo. Well done, Ross. It's excellent.
Congratulations, llongfarchiadau Ross at Clwb Carco, and thank you, Dawn. I'm now going to ask if we can, sorry, just a little bit behind on my slides, sorry, apologies. Now I'd like to invite Janet King, Sector Manager for Education and Childcare at NCFE. We may all know NCFE formerly as CASH. I still call them CASH and then get reminded. So Janet, if you'd like to present our next two awards, Learner of the Year and Commitment to CPD. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And well done, everybody, for if you've been nominated for such a wonderful event. And thank you, Jane, for inviting me along. So let's have a look at the nomination. First of all, for the Learner of the Year. This learner has really engaged with the training. The learner challenges the way people speak about play and has been an advocate for play themselves. The learner has transformed the provision and fully embodied the play work ethos, effectively integrating children's rights. They have taken what they have learnt and run with it. The learner has also supported their own staff to achieve qualifications. So what a wonderful advocate for the sector. And the winner is Katie Lloyd. Well done, Katie. Katie's from Buttons and Bows Day Nursery. Well done. Many congratulations. As we move on now, we're going to just hear a nomination for the commitment to continuing professional development. And we've heard from everyone that's spoken this evening about the challenges that are facing the sector across the whole childcare sector, but in particular, when you think about that, the wealth and the benefit of the out of school club provision and the decline in those numbers. So to actually show this commitment is something that is absolutely superb. Let's hear what the nomination has to say. This club has run many out of school clubs and encouraged all staff with their CPD. Many staff taking part in Play Wales Play Forum. They encourage play work qualifications and all mandatory requirements such as safeguarding and first aid, as well as attending play workshops and any training available. Children's rights to play is very important to this organisation, who like staff to understand how it all works and the values it brings to the children. And the winner is the LCDP Activity Club. Congratulations. Well done, everybody. Wonderful.
Thank you, Janet, and thanks for the support from NCFE at this ceremony and for presenting these awards this evening. Put my teeth back in. Thanks for joining us. So LCDP Llanharan Community Development Project. Excellent work there, llongfarchiadau. So next we have Rebecca Johnson from Welsh Government, Head of Early Childhood Education and Care, Childcare and Play Policy. Rebecca's going to tell you a little bit about the work that Welsh Government and Cullen Partners are doing with Diversity and Anti-Racist Professional Learning, DARPL, to refine and develop actions within Welsh Government's anti-racist policy to support the early years childcare and play work sector to support the vision of an anti-racist Wales. Thank you for joining us, Rebecca.
Thanks, Jane. And just checking that all the tech works, that you can hear me and you can see the presentation all right.
Just bringing the presentation up now.
Is it all working, Jane? Okay, super.
So we're just going to bring that up onto full screen for you. I'm going to ask Sophie to share it full screen. One moment.
Okay, thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Lovely. Okay. Well, it's really good to be here. As Jane said, I am I head up the Early Childhood Education and Care, Childcare and Play Policy within Welsh Government. So I work alongside Nick Edwards, and also some of you may have met my colleague Claire Seven. So I work alongside Claire. I know it's been a long evening so far, but it's been exciting to be part of your time here today, and I'm hoping that I can share some of my energy and enthusiasm for this agenda on the anti-racist agenda, and what we can do as a group and what we can do within our sector. So I'm relatively new to this role. I joined the team in October. However, as a mother of 5, childcare and play are close to my heart. They're part of my life. I've been living and breathing it for the last 15 years as a mother, as a parent. And since I joined the team, it has been a huge honour and a challenge to co-chair the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan, the governance group for childcare and play work, which is responsible for overseeing the work of the Welsh Government and how we interface with the sector. So the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan covers a number of things, and there's a particular section of it that focuses on childcare and play. So we published our action plan in June 2022, and it contains the goals and actions relating to our sector, as I've already said. It sets out our commitments, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. So why does all of this matter? We only have to look at the news to see that racism is still prevalent in our society. And I think if we look deep, we can all recognise that we need to do more, to do better, to be more aware and mindful in our daily lives. That's not to say that there's necessarily a problem with racism directly in childcare and playwork sector, just that we all, myself included, need to be more focused in moving us from the non-racist, often passive space towards positive anti-racist behaviours. Anti-racism is an active process, and that means understanding the privilege of white people and whiteness and taking positive steps to address structural racism and inequality. The Welsh Government has committed to make Wales an anti-racist nation, and the plan sets a vision for Wales for 2030 and commitments for how we will get there. This means that we'll look at the ways that racism is unintentionally built into our policies, formal and informal rules and regulations, and generally the ways in which we work and behave, the language we use, the assumptions, conscious and unconscious, that we make. So why does it matter? Well, it matters because we want to make a real difference to current and future generations of every person in Wales, and that includes people from global majority communities. And I consciously choose the term global majority communities because in the work that I've been doing with the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan team, we've talked about the right kind of language, and the term global majority has been the one that the Black, Asian and minority ethnic people within that group have said, actually, we prefer global majority. So I'm saying, well, yeah, let's use it. So I'll be using the term global majority in our time together today. So we want to see each person from a global majority community thriving and to continue to make Wales a greener, stronger and fairer nation. We want a Wales where everyone thrives and feels valued. So can we click onto the next slide, please? Great, super. So as part of this work, I've had to take a look at my own journey to move from being non-racist to anti-racist. And I think that this is probably best described not by my own words, but by Desmond Tutu, who once said, if you are neutral on situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has his foot on the tail of a mouse and you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. So I'll just revisit that first sentence. If you are neutral, I've been in that space, on situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Gosh, that's challenging. So a little bit about myself. I was born in
Hi, I'm afraid we seem to have lost Rebecca mid-presentation. I wasn't sure if that was my internet, but I think maybe we've just lost her mid-presentation. I'm wondering if she's, yeah, Rebecca's coming back now. So just, are you there with us, Rebecca?
Yes, yeah, I am. I don't know. I've banished all of the children from their devices, but it always creaks a little bit, doesn't it?
Yes, please. Okay, nice to have you back.
Great. So hopefully you guys caught the quote from Desmond Tutu, which is, if you are neutral on situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has his foot on the tail of a mouse and you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. So I've been in that neutral space. So a little bit about myself. I was born in Aberdare and I've lived most of my life in Wales. I'm married with 5 kids and pretty obviously, you can see my face on the screen, hopefully, I'm white. And for too long, I've been the passive bystander. And whilst I've not wished ill on anyone, I've also not done anything to address the injustice of racism, whilst I benefit from not suffering from that injustice. So the slide that you have on the screen in front of you kind of demonstrates that journey of moving from the sort of the fear zone through the learning zone to the growth zone. And I find it incredibly helpful. It's courtesy of Andrew M. Ibrahim, and unfortunately the image isn't available in Welsh at the moment. So I've been on a journey of moving from not really recognizing that racism is something that I need to grapple with, to being prepared to have challenging, courageous conversations about race and injustice. It showed me how I need to push through the fear zone where issues of racism and discrimination were uncomfortable topics for me, where I didn't necessarily feel I had the language, to a place where I actively seek to understand and recognize the social issues of racism. But I often find myself sort of moving within the zones depending on what's happening. And having challenging, courageous conversations actually kind of helps me understand the journey that I still have yet to go. So one of the points in the learning zone that particularly resonates with me is the vulnerability of my own biases and knowledge gaps, and sitting with that vulnerability and accepting that part of my anti-racist journey is about actively seeking knowledge and the inputs of others who come from different cultures. So there's another slide. If we can just go on to the next slide and then we'll come back. So slide 3, please. So this is another slide. Again, the image is not available. It's only available in English at the moment. But I think this slide, what I would recommend that you do is you just take a little bit of time outside of this session to have a look around the wheel, to identify where you are within that, you know, in terms of your citizenship, your skin color, your education, your ability. It even talks about body size. And within this, it's not saying that, you know, I've got an easy life because I'm white, but rather that actually my characteristics and my race in particular means that I'm closer to the places of power. And as a senior leader, I recognize that I have decision-making power. So if I'm if I'm making decisions that that kind of are predicated towards favoring people who look like me, then I'm perpetuating the injustice. So actually part of the anti-racist journey is recognizing my Welsh privilege and saying, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to expand my thinking, my practice, my conversation, such that I can involve others? So if we can flick back to the previous slide, please. So I'm moving past the learning zone and into one of growth, where I see racism and discrimination when it occurs and feel empowered to call it out. But it's something that I'm constantly working on. I recognize that sometimes I don't always see racism when it occurs. I had a conversation yesterday with Claire, and she called me out on some of my language, which was unintended. But it's great to have that relationship where you get called out. And as a white woman who's lived with privilege, with that white privilege, I sometimes don't recognize less overt racism. And this is the biggest part of my journey, to question whether structural racism has created unseen barriers that I need to challenge. So that's in my personal life and in my work life. So moving on to some tips. So one of the tips of my journey, of my personal journey, is that it's a long process. So you might be thinking, oh gosh, where do I start with this? It's a long process, and at times it can feel hard and challenging, but it's okay. We're on a journey. It takes time. Being open to challenge and being willing to challenge without feeling attacked by that challenge is also really important. Sometimes it's easier for other people to see and call out the privilege or unequal power dynamics than yourself. That's okay too, as long as the challenge is kind and you commit to learning and improving. So it's really important to have those courageous conversations and that space of where we can interact safely as well. So if we can move on to slide 4, please. That's over slide 3 on slide 4. Brilliant. Okay, perfect slide control. So what are we doing in Welsh Government, and what does it mean for the childcare and playwork sector? So the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan was developed in collaboration with a wide range of communities and organisations across the country. We recognise the need to jointly shape the goals and actions with people from global majority communities, and we made valuing people's lived experiences one of the key values that underpins the plan. The plan contains our commitments and goals and sets out that journey. We've set up an Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan Childcare and Play governance group to be our central point for our sector, for race work relating to our sector, and to support us as partners, and Clubbi are part of that, in shaping and delivering the phases and goals within the action plan. At present, the governance group is supported by subgroups that are currently focusing on professional learning resources, research and evidence base, understanding what's going on in the sector, and community mentorship and allyship. I'm really proud of the opportunity I have to support the sector to move from being non-racist to, we hope, being actively anti-racist. And for me, that means an active, thoughtful approach to anti-racist practice that centres on that practice in all aspects of childcare and playwork provision. It's not just what we do, but how we do it that matters too. So it's a big challenge, but working together, we can achieve our vision of a Wales which is anti-racist by 2030. So if we can flick on to the next slide, please. So I think, it's useful to talk about some of the principles of anti-racism. And we've got a quote here on the screen. And there are many principles that underpin anti-racist practice. But some of the ones that I've found useful that have really helped me understand and open my eyes is the need to understand and educate yourself, that it's not acceptable to be a passive bystander. I need to be active in understanding what it's like for people from global majority communities, what their challenges are, what their barriers are to accessing childcare and play, for example. And education and learning is a really big part of that. I'll talk in a little bit about those resources. Another key principle is intentioned action, being sufficiently mindful to make a plan of action to review and challenge your policies, your practices, your ways of thinking through an anti-racist lens. And in order to be able to do that, we need to involve people from global majority communities. We need to have those courageous conversations, and as a way to challenge our practices and to find out whether they are experienced equitably by all. So, courageous conversations. That means getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, embracing, sitting with your vulnerability, your mistakes, when you get it wrong, when the language isn't quite right, and someone calls you out, and that's okay. We're on that journey. And it isn't a one-off event. It isn't ticking through, oh yeah, I've done the training, I'm now ticketed up. This is a way of living. It's a way of impacting the lives that we live and the settings in our workplaces. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So there is plenty of support that is available now, and content that we're also in the process of preparing that is specific to the childcare and play work sector. And the link here on the slide, through following that link, you'll be able to access the resources that are available online. So DARPL is the Diversity and Anti-Racist Professional Learning Project. And it's been developed and driven forward by Cardiff Metropolitan University and the Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Ed Wales Network. And they use the term BAME Ed Wales Network. It brings together a diverse team of providers with lived and professional experience. And they're sharing their experience, and there's a heap of resources there. I know I've done some of the DARPL training, which is presented by the granddaughter of Betty Campbell, and it's very impactful, very worthwhile doing. So I can really highly recommend that to everyone. And hopefully Chantal, who's the project director, is also on the link today. Sorry, just have a big swig of water. So I'd really commend to you that you take the time, have a look at what's available there. And if we can move on to the last slide, please, just to sort of finish up. Here's my contact details. It includes the email address for Claire and I. That's probably the best way of getting in touch with us, although there is my telephone number as well. I hope that you've been able to catch some of my enthusiasm about the anti-racist Wales agenda, but I also hope that I've been able to give you some hints and tips, and maybe you've sat at home or wherever it is that you are and you've thought to yourself, maybe I need to go on this journey too. Maybe I need to start taking action and to move out of a kind of passive space into an active space. And I really encourage you to do that. Thank you so much for the time today and the opportunity to talk to you about this. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for sharing your journey with us. I think it's really insightful, and actually I've started doing a little bit of reading around this topic as well. Need to do a whole load more, but I think the journey that we're on as Cullen partners, working with Welsh Government and DARPL, I know that there's been you can see a link up in the chat there. Some anti-racist resources that Cullen Partners have provided. If you go and visit that as clubs, there's lots there for you to start your journey, and we will have more coming out in the very near future. We've had a couple of questions come in. How can settings support children to develop their understanding of a diverse world in a very small, maybe rural community?
That's a really good question, actually, and it really resonates to me, because one of the things that I didn't say about myself is that I'm also a farmer's wife, and my kids go to a very small rural school. So I understand, having moved out of the city, into the valleys. So I'm kind of not in the sort of depths of Wales. I'm in the South Wales valleys. That the diversity that's within the ethnic diversity that's within the school that my children go to is much less than we had in inner city Cardiff. But I think it's all about the resources. So it's about the teams that are in the spaces taking the time to understand where they are, and then as we work with children, so I'm thinking of it, obviously I work with you guys, but I have these types of conversations with my children as well. So they range in age from 5 to 15. And it's about the resources that we use, the way that we lead the conversations, the type of play that we arrange, the language, and are we welcoming diversity when it comes about? But the reality is that whilst there might be some parts of our say like small rural schools that don't have much diversity, that doesn't mean to say that we can sort of step back and say, well, it's not here, so it's not anything to do with us. We've still got to actively engage, and I'm sure that there are loads of resources available to be able to use within the day-to-day settings. I remember my 9-year-old who said, "Mum, I'd really like there to be brown plasters at school." Like, where's that come from? But it doesn't always have to be big. It's the
No,
small stuff as well.
absolutely, it is the small stuff. But every little bit of this workspace counts, doesn't it? We are running slightly behind now. We've got a couple of other questions. I think you've probably covered the first one. How do you feel that our sector can promote diversity and anti-racism while working with children? I suppose the last one, quickly, what do you think the play workers can, in the short, medium and long term, do to support the anti-racist work with Welsh Government?
Okay, good question, and I think this is straightforward really. In the short term, access to the learning that's available, the resources are there on the DARPL links. Have challenging conversations, introduce this into your coffee chat, start actually exercising around these ideas. In the medium term, short and medium term, embrace the opportunity to be involved in what we're doing. So whether that's with finding out stuff about your setting, this we're needing to sort of find out kind of baseline data so that we can then move us on. And then in the long term, remembering that it's a long journey. So keep having the conversations, keep having those courageous conversations, and accept that you never arrive, because this is a relational thing. So it's not about, like I said earlier, it's not just about, oh, I've done the training, so I'm all anti-racist up.
Yeah.
It's actually a way of living, a way of relating. So think of it like getting to know your friend, the people you spend time with. It's dynamic, and we've got to stay on that dynamic journey.
That's great. Thank you ever so much, Rebecca. I'd now like to invite you to present our next award, which is Champions of Inclusion, please.
Wonderful. So the Champions of Inclusion pride themselves on their inclusion values. They feel everyone has the right to be included, and they never turn anyone away. They support children and families to be the best of their abilities, and they've got a great example. They had a boy that came by taxi all the way from Swansea. Local settings struggled with his behaviour, but fortunately the setting was able to support him and his family, and for him language was a barrier and he got really frustrated, but the setting focused on activities he enjoyed and worked from there. So the drum roll, the winners of the Champions of Inclusion are Tiddlywinks in Neath Port Talbot. Congratulations, Tiddlywinks. Well done.
Thank you, Rebecca, and congratulations, Tiddlywinks, for your work on inclusion. I would now like to introduce you to Nicole Lovett, our development manager, who's based in one of our development managers, based in North Wales and in charge of our Welsh programme, amongst many other things. to present the award for supporting staff wellbeing.
Thanks, Jane. As we've previously said, the past few years have been a tough one for clubs, communities and for children, but it is heartwarming to see how our out-of-school childcare club community have continued to go above and beyond to support each other. The award for supporting staff wellbeing is recognition for a manager, owner, committee or play leader who has striven to support the mental health and wellbeing of their staff, creating a healthy, positive work environment. We received lots of wonderful nominations, but the winner for the award is for a setting that is so supportive and understanding, always at the end of the phone, anytime, and don't just help with work issues. They're there for support on day-to-day issues too. They genuinely care about their staff and look after their well-being with regular meetings and also a well-being fund, which they have nice things that they buy for them. This really boosts staff morale. And the winner of this award is Dylan's Den in Rhondda Cynon. Congratulations, Dylan's Den.
Congratulations, Dylan's Den. I think that's the second award for you this evening. It's great news. I'm going to move quickly on now and introduce our other development manager, Alex Fudge, who's based in South Wales and who supports me massively with our Cullen work, amongst many other things. Over to you, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. I thought I'd won an award then when my name came up. There are approximately 900 volunteer committee members supporting out-of-school clubs across Wales. They support over 16,000 children and their families. This is in addition to the volunteers who support children directly in settings. Thank you. We really couldn't do without you. Volunteering promotes social cohesion, inclusion, economic regeneration, and the development of powerful societal networks, enabling societies to function effectively. And so we announce our final award of the evening, our Volunteer of the Year, to celebrate a volunteer who has invested their own time and energy to support their local out-of-school childcare club and community. This person is a trustee in a million. Her commitment to the club is amazing. She helps with everything and has been connected to the club for at least 25 years. And when the club decided to involve parents more and elect trustees and become a charitable incorporate organisation, this lady was at the front of the line to join. Her knowledge, experience and enthusiasm is amazing. And the winner is Linda Bunkle of Temps in Wrexham. Well done.
Well done, Linda, and thank you, Alex. I'm going to draw things to a close. I would like to thank Nicola, Kevin, Dawn, Janet and Rebecca for presenting this evening, for their presentations and updates for the sector. I'd personally like to thank all of my staff, without whom all of the support for you, the out-of-school childcare sector, would not be possible. Thanks must also go to the National Lottery Fund and 4 local authorities, Conwy, Swansea, Newport and Flintshire, without whose funding we would not have our childcare business development officers who are able to give the invaluable one-to-one support to our clubs to help them survive. Lastly, thanks to you, the sector, for the work that you individuals within it do and to support children, their families and their communities in Wales to prosper. One unsung hero who's been doing a fantastic job this evening of getting this presentation up and round and live is Soph, who's behind the scenes, and Becky, who also helped us prepare the presentation. Thank you to them. And all prize winners will be receiving a goodie bag of gifts from us, from NCFE, and their trophy as well to celebrate their achievement. And all our learners will be receiving a specially designed qualified play worker lanyard with useful cards with Welsh phrases attached and an NCFE pen. We'll be getting them all out to you soon. It would be great if you could support us by completing the evaluation found on the QR code, skillfully designed by Soph, our marketing and comms officer. You can scan it with your phone if you're not on your phone watching this evening, and you'll be able to access a short form which will help us to evaluate how well, in your opinion, tonight went, and to build on this again for next year. Or there's also a link in the comments section now. As a small incentive at the end of the evaluation, there's a link to a virtual goodie bag, including some excellent resources developed by the team to support you in your settings. They include a series of resources to help you promote children's rights and to put children at the heart of your governance, some activity ideas to celebrate diversity, and some resources to help you use more Welsh in your settings. Thank you all for your time tonight and continuing to provide vital support to children and families in Wales. Thank you.